So my mind in recent days has very much been on the Apollo lunar mission from 1969 to 1972 with the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. I've been thinking a lot about the space race. Yesterday I watched Gagarin First in Space, which is a Russian film, and much like First Man, it explores more the individual, um, in this case Yuri Gagarin, rather than the wider space program. Although there's a bit of propaganda in it. Like I say, it is a Russian film, but it's got some good scenes. For example, the bit where Gagarin first gets into orbit, it shows this group of students, and someone opens the door, another student opens the door and says, "Our man is in space." And this whole lecture is saying, "Yes, it's possible within the next 10 years." And they all crowd out, and everyone's celebrating on the streets of Moscow. It's a good film, worth checking out. Um, So I've very much been thinking about the subject, and I came across some videos this morning discussing the Artemis program. Now, apparently, NASA has its sights on a moon landing in 2024. 2024, that's a mere 5 years from now. And at that time, it would be 52 years, 53 years since the last person set foot on the moon. I believe that was Gene Cernan back in 1972, Apollo 17. So this is definitely exciting. I think the potential is very interesting. Notably, she would be a woman, so the first woman to set foot on the moon. Um, and I, I'm wondering if this though will herald something of a new space race. Um, I watched an interview, like I say, with which was discussing NASA's Artemis program, which is the name of the program around us. Artemis in Greek mythology was the twin sister of Apollo. Um, Now, Major Jim Bridenstine, who's the current NASA administrator, supports the Trump administration's efforts for a military contingent in space. This is something that Trump and Pence have put a lot of focus on. um, Part of the issue of not getting another manned mission to the moon since 1972 is that it's a very complex procedure. It takes time. Budgets change with different administrations. So what the Trump administration has done is said, okay, we're going to shorten that time frame to 5 years, assuming that Trump gets re-elected, or even if the Democrats get in and they go ahead with this proposal, it's a mere 5 years. Now, of course, that's in an ideal world. Things could go wrong, it could take longer, but it has been done before, so it's absolutely not implausible. And the significance of this would be not only would there be huge excitement about another moon landing, but it would pave the way for eventually a trip to Mars. Do I think that will happen in my lifetime? Well, I think it will happen later than expected, but I think it is plausible in our lifetime. I'm 33 now. Um, I could see some sort of mission to Mars by the 2050s, 2060s. Of course, China and Russia and India and the European Union are all focusing on space too. Even Brazil has a space agency. And when we leave the EU, the British Space Agency is going to be our independent body into that. So the prospects are very exciting. But if we look at some of the tensions that are going on Earth, for example, the tensions on the South China Sea and in the Pacific, it's not implausible to think that there could be tensions in space as well. What Major Bridenstine says is that America needs to lead free nations and be a kind of ahead of the mark on this. The idea of having Star Wars for real, not just the treaty or the name of the treaties. Am I getting that right? Apologies if I've got that wrong. Under the Carter Brezhnev years, the Star Wars military treaties, um, SALT 1, SALT 2, then Star Wars went into the Reagan years. Um, it's both exciting but also potentially dangerous. Um, but I admit I find this quite exciting. I find the prospects incredible. But China has also got its eyes on the ball. The Chang'e 4 probe was the first to reach the dark side of the moon. I remember the news of that coming through on all the Chinese social networks when I was over there earlier this year. So that was a big step as well. This expedition, I understand, will be to the south pole of the moon, which is the first time that's been done. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think will be a new space race between maybe the United States and China this time? Um, Other countries are now involved that weren't active in the 60s. India, Brazil, for example. I think it's exciting, but I also think there is an argument to be made. We've messed up Earth so much. Buzz Aldrin's one of those astronauts that is very much in favour of winning the political argument for having more funding in space, and he makes a point that it would be returned many times over, so the money would be worth it. I think I think this 50th anniversary has definitely galvanised public interest again in a way that maybe hasn't been that present in the last few decades, but who knows? It's exciting. And definitely that'll be a huge event. First person on the moon in over 50 years, first woman on the moon. So it's going to be a big, big thing. Project Artemis. Let me know your thoughts. Will there be a new space race? America, if the United States gets to the moon again first, what could China do? What could Russia do? What could Brazil do? I think China is definitely investing a lot of money in this. Uh, Here in the UK, we're going to have a much smaller budget than either China or the United States, but we're a great nation, and I wouldn't rule out, if not a manned mission, something, some sort of pioneering project. Why not? Let's think big. So let me know your thoughts.